It's wonderful to see you. Here we are on our last day together reading Because of Winn Dixie. We'll be reading chapters 25 and 26 today. I bet some of you have read ahead. It's fun. Remember, that's absolutely fine with me. You just want to make sure you know the story very well so that when you go to take an AR test on it, that you'll do the best you can do. Okay? So just thinking back, I'm going to kind of recap the entire book. Going way back to the very beginning, Opal found Winn Dixie in the grocery store. Remember the chaos that Winn Dixie was causing in the grocery store? She took him home. He was destined for the pound, and she saved him. Took him home. The preacher said, okay, you can keep him, because he had a way of wiggling his little body into everybody's hearts. The preacher liked him. He would smile at people. Because Opal was new to Naomi, Florida, she didn't have any friends. Remember, it was just Opal and the preacher. Her mama had left when she was only 3 years old. And so Winn Dixie has actually helped her to make some friends. Her first friend that she made, do you remember who the very first friend she made was? Miss Franny Block at the library. She became friends with Miss Franny. And then along the way met many other people, Amanda Wilkinson, Sweetie Pie, Otis, Gloria Dump, the Dewberry Boys. Is that everybody? I think that's everybody. And it just talks about the adventures that Winn Dixie and Opal have. The lessons that they learn a lot of interesting lessons just about not judging people, about how people can change. About how you never know what somebody's going through. You don't know what somebody's going through that might make them be having a bad day. So she learned a lot. She grew up a lot, I think, throughout this book. So as we're reading towards the end here, they are at Gloria Dump's house for a party, and something very scary has happened. Winn Dixie, there's a thunderstorm, and as we know, Winn Dixie has a pathological fear of thunderstorms. Winn Dixie has run off. And of course, Opal is beside herself with worry. So she and the preacher go looking for him. And the preacher is worried too. The preacher loves Winn Dixie also, and he's very worried also. But the preacher and Opal kind of get into an argument because she says he wants to stop looking for Winn Dixie. And she said, you always give up. You let my mama run off. You just let everybody leave. And he says, don't you think I wanted her to stay? I wanted her to stay, but as Gloria Dump said, you can't hold on to something that just wants to go. You got to let it go. Gloria Dump had so much wisdom in her. So it was kind of good that the preacher and Opal talked, even though it was sort of a fight, but it was ended up being good. They just came to an understanding about one another. So when we left with chapter 24, they had not found Winn Dixie, but they were starting to head back to Gloria Dump's house because they searched everywhere. Remember, it took us by each of the places where the story had actually taken place, to the pet shop and the trailer park and the church and the library and Gloria Dump's yard and Sweetie Pie's house. And so they kind of went to all these places and could not find Winn Dixie. I thought that was kind of a neat way to sum up what had happened throughout the entire story. It kind of takes you back to those places. You also, before you take a test on this, I would look back at your chapter summaries, because that'll really help your memory. Although remember, with AR tests, they're very detailed. The questions are very detailed. So what you have in your summary should help your memory in general, but it's not going to give you those little details that an AR test is going to require you to have. So just make sure you're good and ready before you take it, okay? Okay, chapter 25. We're on page 169. Because of Winn Dixie by Kate DiCamillo. Everybody with me? Okay. We heard the music before we even got to Gloria Dump's house. We heard it almost a block away. It was guitar playing and singing and clapping. I wonder what's going on, my father said. We walked up Gloria's sidewalk and around back, through her yard and into her kitchen, and what we saw was Otis playing his guitar and Miss Franny and Gloria sitting there smiling and singing and Gloria holding Sweetie Pie in her lap. Amanda and Dunlap and Stevie were sitting on the kitchen floor clapping along and having the best possible time. Even Amanda was smiling. I couldn't believe they were so happy when Winn Dixie was missing. "We didn't find him," I shouted at them. The music stopped and Gloria Dump looked at me and said, "Child, we know you didn't find him. You didn't find him because he was right here all along." She took her cane and poked at something under her chair. "Come on out of there," she said. There was a snuffle and a sigh. "He's asleep," she said. "He plumb wore out." She poked around with her cane again, and Winn Dixie stood up from underneath her chair and yawned. "Winn Dixie," I hollered. "No!" Gertrude squawked. Winn Dixie wagged his tail and showed me all his teeth and sneezed. I went pushing past everybody. I dropped to the floor and wrapped my arms around him. "Where have you been?" I asked him. He yawned again. "How did you find him?" I asked. "Now there's a story," said Miss Franny. "Gloria, why don't you tell it?" "Well," said Gloria Dump, "we was all just sitting around waiting on you two, and after I convinced these Dewberry boys that I ain't no scary witch all full of spells and potions—" "She ain't no witch," Stevie said. He shook his bald head. He looked kind of disappointed. Excuse me, Gertrude makes my throat scratchy. "No," said Dunlap, "she ain't. If she was, she would have turned us into toads by now." He grinned. "I could have told you that she wasn't a witch. Witches don't exist," said Amanda. "They're just myths." A myth, sorry, I forgot to go over your words again. A myth is something we know is not true. "All right now," said Gloria. "What happened was we got through all them witchy things, and then Franny said, 'Why don't we have a little music while we wait for you two to get back?' And so Otis played his guitar, and ooh-wee, there ain't a song he don't know. And if he don't know it, he can pick it up right quick if you hum it to him. He has a gift." Gloria stopped and smiled over at Otis, and he smiled back. He looked all lit up from the inside. Remember, all he wanted to do was play his music and have people like to listen to it. "Tell what happened," Sweetie Pie said. "Tell about that dog." "So," said Gloria, "Franny and me, we started thinking about all these songs we knew from when we was girls. We got Otis to play them, and we started singing them, teaching the words to these children. And then somebody sneezed," Sweetie Pie shouted. "That's right," said Gloria. "Somebody sneezed, and it wasn't none of us. So we looked around, wondering who did, thinking that maybe we got us a burglar in the house. We looked around, and we didn't see nothing, so we started into singing again. And sure enough, there was another big achoo. Sounded like it was coming from my bedroom. So I sent Otis in there. I said, 'Otis, go in there and see who's sneezing.' So Otis went, and do you know what he found?" I shook my head. "Winn Dixie!" shouted Sweetie Pie. "That dog of yours was all hid underneath my bed, squeezed under there like the world was about to end. But he was smiling like a fool every time he heard Otis play the guitar, smiling so hard he sneezed." My daddy laughed. "It's true," Miss Franny said. "It's the truth," said Stevie. Dunlap nodded and smiled right at me. "So," Gloria Dump said, "Otis played his guitar right to that dog, and a little bit at a time Winn Dixie came creeping out from underneath the bed." "He was covered in dust," said Amanda. "He looked like a ghost," said Dunlap. "Yeah, Sweetie Pie, just like a ghost," said Sweetie Pie, "just like a ghost." "Mm-hmm," said Gloria. "Looked just like a ghost. Anyway, the storm stopped after a while, and your dog settled in under my chair and fell asleep, and that's where he's been ever since, just waiting on you to come back and find him." "Winn Dixie," I said. I hugged him so tight he wheezed. But one of our vocab words, it's hard to catch your breath. "We were out there whistling and calling for you, and you were right here all along. Oh, thank you," I said to everybody. "Well," said Gloria Dump, "we didn't do nothing. We just sat here and waited and sang some songs. We all got to be good friends. Now, the punch ain't nothing but water, and the egg salad sandwiches got tore up by the rain. You got to eat them with a spoon if you want egg salad. But we got pickles to eat and litmus lozenges, and we still got a party going on." My daddy pulled out a kitchen chair and sat down. "Otis," he said, Do you know any hymns?" "I know some," said Otis. "You hum it," said Miss Franny, nodding her head, "and he can play it." So my daddy started humming something, and Otis started picking it out on his guitar, and Winn Dixie wagged his tail and lay back down underneath Gloria's chair. I looked around the room at all the different faces, and I felt my heart swell up inside me with pure happiness. "I'll be back in a minute," I said. But they were all singing now and laughing, and Winn Dixie was snoring, so no one heard me. All right, moving on to chapter 26. So they're all there. Even though there's no egg salad, there's no punch, it's still a party because they're together. And, food's good at a party, but what really makes a party is the people. All right, chapter 26. Outside, the rain had stopped and the clouds had gone away, and the sky was so clear it seemed like I could see every star ever made. I walked all the way to the back of Gloria Dump's yard. I walked back there and looked at her mistake tree. The bottles were quiet. There wasn't a breeze, so they were just hanging there. I looked at the tree, and then I looked up at the sky. "Mama," I said, just like she was standing right beside me, "I know 10 things about you, and that's not enough. That's not near enough. But Daddy's going to tell me more. I know he will now that he knows you're not coming back. He misses you, and I miss you too, but my heart doesn't feel empty anymore. It's full all the way up. I still think about you, I promise, but probably not as much as I did this summer." That's what I said that night underneath Gloria Dump's mistake tree. And after I was done saying it, I stood just staring up at the sky, looking at the constellations and planets. And then I remembered my own tree, the one Gloria had helped me plant. I hadn't looked at it for a long time. I went crawling around on my hands and knees, searching for it. And when I found it, I was surprised at how much it had grown. It was still small. It still looked more like a plant than a tree, but the leaves and the branches felt real strong and good and right. And I was down there on my knees when I heard a voice say, "Are you praying?" I looked up. It was Dunlap. "No," I said, "I'm not praying, I'm thinking." He crossed his arms and looked down at me. "What about?" he asked. "Oh, all kinds of different things," I said. "I'm sorry that I called you and Stevie bald-headed babies." "That's all right," he said. "Gloria told me to come out here and get you. I told you she wasn't a witch." "I know it," he said. "I knew it all along. I was just teasing you." "Oh," I said. I looked at him close. It was hard to see him good in the dark yard. "Ain't you ever going to stand up?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, and then he surprised me. He did something I never in a million years thought a Dewberry boy would do. He held out his hand to help me up, and I took it. I let him pull me to my feet. "I'll race you back to the house," Dunlap said, and he started to run. "Okay," I shouted, "but I'm warning you, I'm fast." We ran, and I beat him. I touched the corner of Gloria Dump's house right before he did. "You shouldn't be running around in the dark," said Amanda. She was standing on the porch looking at us. "You could trip over something." "Oh, Amanda," said Dunlap, and he shook his head. "Oh, Amanda," I said too. And then I remembered Carson, and I felt bad for her. I went up on the porch and took hold of her hand and pulled on her. "Come on," I said, "let's go inside." Now remember, she still doesn't want to mention Carson because she knows it'll make Amanda sad, very sad, but she just wants her to know that she's her friend and she's there for her. "India Opal," Daddy said when me and Amanda and Dunlap walked in, "are you here to sing some songs with us?" "Yes, sir," I said, "only I don't know that many songs." "Well, we'll teach you," he said. He smiled at me real big. It was a good thing to see. So the preacher's being very friendly and outgoing, and that's a nice thing for her to see. I think he feels like a weight has been lifted off his shoulder because they talked about her mama and had kind of come to the agreement that they didn't think she was going to be coming back. "That's right," said Gloria Dump, "we will." Sweetie Pie was still sitting in her lap, but her eyes were closed. "Care for a litmus lozenge?" Miss Franny asked, passing me the bowl. "Thank you," I told her. I took a litmus lozenge and unwrapped it and put it in my mouth. "You want a pickle?" Otis asked, holding up his big jar of pickles. "No, thank you," I said. "Not right now." Winn Dixie came out from underneath Gloria Dump's chair. He sat down next to me and leaned into me the same as I was leaning into my daddy. And Amanda stood right there beside me, and when I looked over at her, she didn't look so pinch-faced at all to me. Dunlap cracked his knuckles and said, "Well, we gonna sing or what?" "Yeah," Stevie echoed. "Are we gonna sing or what?" "Let's sing," said Sweetie Pie, opening her eyes and sitting up straight. "Let's sing for the dog." Otis laughed and strummed his guitar, and the flavor of the litmus lozenge opened in my mouth like a flower blooming all sweet and sad. And then Otis and Gloria and Stevie and Miss Franny and Dunlap and Amanda and Sweetie Pie and my daddy all started to sing a song, and I listened careful so I could learn it right. And that's the end of the book. Now, I remember when I first read this to my class years ago, it was before the movie, right before the movie came out, and I just remember one little boy saying, "But I thought her mom was going to come back." And, you know, a lot of stories end happily where, like in this story, the mom would have come back at the end. But you know what? Life's not like that all the time. Things don't always work out real happily. Her mom didn't come back, but the good thing is that Opal was okay with it. She kind of understood that her mama needed to be elsewhere, that she just couldn't be there. That wasn't the best place for her. And Opal had made peace with that. Her father had made peace with that, and they were going on with their lives. It was time to move on. They had made new friends in Naomi, some very good friends, both young and old. But she's made peace with who she is, and you know what? It was all because of Winn Dixie that she met all those people, wasn't it? Thus the title of our story. So you are going to write your chapter summaries for 25 and 26. So next week, you will be working on your book report. I've sent home information about that already. So just look at it again. I'll resend it on Monday just so you have a fresh copy where you know where it is. But just so you know, I'm sorry that we can't do a group book report. That's what the plan was to have done it in school as a group, but instead you're just going to have to do a little something at home. The good news is you don't have to present it orally in front of anybody. You have 4 choices, a diorama, recreate a scene, make a little booklet, or dress as a character. Now, I don't want anybody just throwing on blue jeans saying, "I'm Opal," not going to go. You also have to do a written summary. There's a rubric attached to the information, so make sure you follow the rubric because you'll be graded on that, okay, with that. So look at that to make sure you cover everything you need to. Also, I want you to take an AR test on Winn Dixie. That's going to be your end of the book test that I'll take a score on. It can also count towards your AR points. If you get all the questions right, it's worth 3 points, which is awesome because you only need 4. So, don't go running to take the test right this second. Look at your chapter summaries again. There's a movie. Some of you may have already watched it. I hope not, because I just love making the pictures in my mind before watching a movie. Once you watch a movie, you get those other pictures in your mind, and it's not nearly as fun, I don't think. But it's on Disney Plus, I know for sure. I think you can rent it off Amazon Prime too. So check with Mom and Dad about that. But that'll be a fun thing for you to do when you're cooped up in the house. You can watch Because of Winn Dixie if you haven't done so already. But just before you take the test or anything, just make sure you know the story really well. Okay? All right, so I guess that's it for now. It was a great book. I wish so badly I could have been here with you so we could talk about it in person and I could see your faces. But you know what? We'll be together soon. And at least I get to have you guys in 4th grade. I think I'd be so sad if I had to say goodbye forever. So that's good. We'll be together again in 4th grade. And remember, the first story in our 4th grade reading book is a chapter from Winn Dixie. So that'll be kind of fun, won't it? We'll get to reminisce. Okay, y'all work hard. Listen, be independent for Mom and Dad. You show them how you can do the work. Tell them, I've got it, Mom. I know Miss Motif's expectations. I'm going to write neatly. Space between my words. I'm going to write dark enough so that she can see it when we email it to her. I will do a good job, Mom and Dad, so you don't have to hover over me. I promise. Okay? This should be the one class they don't have to, make sure you're doing it right. You can do it. You know how to do it. You know what I expect of you. So do your best. Try your best. Put effort into it. Okay? All right. Be awesome, and I will see you soon. Bye.